Okay, and we're live. I do believe you guys should be able to hear me. If you cannot hear me, I'm going to go ahead and write. If you can't hear me, just say so in the chat. Okay. Just going to wait a little bit. Okay, people can hear me. That means on the whole, everybody should be able to hear me or not have that ridiculous connection problem that we had last week. Okay, so first things first, really quick impromptu preface. So number one, please no spamming or trolling or no posting of inappropriate content. Either of those three will net you a ban from the channel, or at least from the live stream. I really don't like doing that because number one, it sucks. Number two, you're taking time away from questions that need to be answered from other clients. So please make this time for the community, because for a lot of people, this is not easy to make. I'm in North America. People are outside of North America in the different hemispheres all over the place. So please be respectful of the space. Number two, if you want to ask a question, go ahead, but only post it once. Please don't post repeat ones, because that makes the chat box jump down. And it's difficult for me to get to questions in the order in which they are posted, because I scroll all the way up to the beginning of the chat and then make my way down. Number three, I guess, oh yes, we will not be talking about firmware that has not been released unless we have been given authorization from management to do so. I can tell you we don't have that today. So I can and will answer questions about existing firmware that has already been released. Keep in mind, I do know, there are some things I don't know about the firmware, but I do know a great deal. So feel free to ask questions about firmware that has already been released. So yeah, other than that, thank you to everyone who has found the time to make it here. This is the second to last live stream that we'll be having for this particular season during the summer. I don't think we'll have any more until a couple of months afterwards. Hopefully, if you guys have any questions, you can post them in the comments section beneath these videos, or much more reliable, email us at service@hubsan.com. On that note, if we tell you to email service@hubsan.com about a question that you posted in the chat, we don't mean that in a runaround or offensive manner. We mean that as in, we need more details. This is going to take way longer than 5 minutes. 2 to 5 minutes on a live stream is going to give you. So please email us so that we can help you more appropriately. So yeah, let's get started. Hello, my question is, the new Hubsan H123D jet, can you buy it? Oh, you can buy it with or without transmitter, but which transmitter is compatible with the H123D? The advanced controller is not compatible that I know. Okay, so I haven't tried the 123D with anything else other than the transmitter it comes with. To my knowledge, I don't think you'd be able to fly it with anything with any of the other transmitters, although I won't discount the possibility that it would be possible. I wouldn't recommend it though, because the protocols are going to be different, even though they're both meant to be connected. Like, even though technically speaking, I suppose you could try with any 2.4 transmission device, the binding might be an issue just because of the protocol. So I don't know that for sure. Just to be on the safe side, I'd say that you'd only be able to fly with the transmitter that it's provided with. I have replaced the faulty motor on my H501A. Should I have replaced all 4 instead of 1? Also, while testing the H906A, I got good results, but the HT011A caused a unidirectional yaw, calibration issue or repair. So you have 2 different questions on your post. I'm going to answer one at a time. The first, if you just had 1 faulty motor, you just have to replace that motor. Brushless motors are very reliable unless all 4 of them fail at once, which is not very probable. Then you don't have to replace that one. That's the answer to the first question. Second question is, that's the third time I've heard since the HT011A's release that there's unidirectional yaw. In the last two cases I saw, we tried troubleshooting with the transmitter stick calibration. And when that failed to work, we had to take the back off the transmitter and inspect the innards. In this case, try a transmitter stick calibration. If even after one it still doesn't work, please email us at service@hubsan.com. Or there's also a user on Facebook who's very friendly, and he's a really good pilot. He was one of the cases that I received of the problem that you had. His was a case of bad soldering on the back of a potentiometer underneath the joystick. So you can contact him, and you can have him show you photos of that particular case. Of course, also email us at service@hubsan.com so that we can help you take care of it if you don't know how to solder. Because that case, if the transmitter stick calibration doesn't work, soldering will be required. If you do know how to solder, it's a really easy fix. You just solder the wires back on. Next question. The H501SS, what is the latest released firmware and where do I get it? So we actually covered the subject of the latest released firmware on that particular aircraft in the last two live streams. I believe the last live stream was, gotta look at the date, was August 7th and August 9th, last Tuesday and Friday. I answered questions about the latest firmware on that particular model. The latest firmware is FC version 1.1.46, RX version 2.1.50 for the standard transmitter, version 4.2.34 or 33, and advanced H906A version 1.1.17. I don't recommend it if the aircraft that you had didn't come with that, because that firmware is, as I stated before, primed for the new auto calibration compass. And if you didn't receive an aircraft with that compass, the firmware is not, or that if you didn't receive an aircraft with that firmware that I just stated already flashed on it, you most likely don't have that particular compass. I don't think you would have that compass at all. So I would not use it. I would use for you version 1.1.41 for the flight control and RX version 2.1.29. Next question. Where's the info on the stick calibration? We have a series called Back to Basics on our official Facebook page. So type in the Facebook search tab at Hubsan001. Just type in at Hubsan001, do a search, click on our official company page, go to the pinned post, click see more, and you'll see an entire list come down. Transmitter stick calibration was one of the first tutorials to come out. I think it was amongst the top 5, the first 5 to come out. So go ahead and find the series, click on it, and then go and access that tutorial on the transmitter stick calibration. If you like a video example too, there's a lot of clients have made them on YouTube. Hi, Shally. I'm not Shally, but hello to Brazil. My name's Annie. I'm not Shally. Shally's currently not. She's on leave right now, and plus she's from the Chinese office, not the American office. My H123D is coming. Good. I hope you enjoy it. Speaking of the H123D, I wanted to mention we will be releasing a tuning tool for the aircraft, and it will be as unlimited as we can make it, meaning that you can pretty much tune any aspect of the 123D's features as you'd like. We did this, and we're really focusing on it too, because we've noticed a lot of people who don't exactly like the assist on the acro. Mostly because we're looking at we're afraid that if beginners try and do acro, they might have a hard time without self-stabilization. But we understand that this is going to be an aircraft that people that, you know, more hardcore, more experienced pilots are going to want to purchase. So we'll be releasing that tool so that more experienced pilots can tone it way down on the stabilization. If not, hopefully, I'm not sure if they'll be able to remove the stabilization altogether from the acro mode. But at the very least, you'll be able to get it to, you know, back off maybe till extents that you can't even notice it anymore. I have an H501SS aircraft with the advanced transmitter. Will the transmitter work with the H301S Skyhawk plane? Only if you update the firmware or change the firmware to 1.2.4. That particular version is available exclusively only from us, unless there's someone who already has it and can give it to you. Keep in mind that if you flash the transmitter to that firmware, you won't be able to use the H501S with it unless you flash back to version 1.1.16 or anything within that vicinity. Okay. Hello from Greece. Hello, Annie. How are you? I'm well. Just a little bit tired, of course, answering questions. And hello to Greece. Very glad you can make it. I'm not sure of the time zone there, but I hope it's not too late or too early for you. But thank you for being able to make it. And if you have any questions, do feel free to ask. Again, only post once. I will get to it as soon as I can. Why is Hubsan QC helping support the best Facebook group? P.S. Chris Wade is awesome. Okay. I will do my shout out to the groups after I answer as many other questions as possible. I hate to break the question flow as of right now. Hello, Hubsan H501S firmware link, please. Please visit www.hubsan.com. Click on support for the latest firmware. People are saying that the SS version gets the battery hot because of the camera module that's underneath. Is there a workaround fix? I wouldn't say that the battery gets hot because of the camera module. You have to keep in mind where the power is coming from the battery. So the more you run the aircraft, the hotter it's going to get. I wouldn't say it's due to the camera module. I would say, though, that because the camera module heats up, then in response to the power going to it from the battery, that then we will retain more heat and maybe build more heat up in the chassis with the combination of video module and the battery heating up together. That's not really an issue, though. We really haven't had any overheating cases. If your camera module is working properly, I don't think there's going to be an issue. It's just the power going to the video module. And of course, because the video module is so close to the battery and the battery's heating up too, then it's just an aggregate effect. But it's usually not a problem. Next question. The max displayed distance telemetry is 3,276 meters, and the max displayed speed is 33.9 meters per second, from which it rolls over and begins counting again. Can this be fixed? I can definitely write that down and submit it to R&D. I can't guarantee anything, but they're always asking for me and the other representatives to submit feedback. So I can always submit that. Let me write that down, actually. Submit input about Distance and speed, telemetry, maximum, and roll over to R&D. Next question. Thanks for answering the acro situation. I've noticed that I've been having a lag with the video recording on my SD card. Is it possible it may be an SD card issue? It may be if you're using a card that is less than class 10. But I think in your instance, I think you mean that the video skips. You see, like especially when you move the aircraft, it skips. If that's the case, that's more likely a formatting issue. That the volume label area is not blank. That means when you format it again, format to FAT32, fat as in the opposite of skinny, 32. Set the cluster size to 32 kilobytes. Make sure that the volume label area is blank, and then reformat. That should solve the problem. I've only seen in very rare cases in which that does not solve the problem, and you have to resort to a camera module firmware upgrade. But that's only ever happened once or twice in the entirety of my history with working with the SS and the A. So the reformatting should solve the problem. Next question. Vamos a entender en portugués. Okay, so I said this last time. Unfortunately, nobody here speaks or understands or reads or writes Portuguese. What I can do is answer your question in Spanish if that helps. I'm going to repeat that in Spanish, so just in case you didn't understand what I just said, you might be able to understand what I'm saying. Lo siento, yo no entiendo ni comprendo ni hablar ni hablo portugués, pero puedo hablar español si quieres preguntarme sobre un problema y quisieras que yo pueda hablar en español, no en inglés. Por favor, traduce tu pregunta en inglés y también escribe que quisieras una respuesta de español y voy a responder. Gracias. Maybe a noob question, but I'm a noob. That's fine. Why can't I still get an insufficient GPS location despite showing 9 or 10 satellites? That usually happens with Wi-Fi aircraft. Usually those cases are when, one, you're in between buildings or near obstacles such as trees. Number two, simply move your mobile device around the aircraft and you should be able to pass the GPS accuracy test. If you're getting a GPS signal loss reading on a 2.4 transmitter, reflash the transmitter firmware and then try again. That shouldn't be happening. I've never seen that happen before. Someone having 9 or 11 satellites and getting a GPS signal loss, unless you're talking about having 9 or 10 satellites on your transmitter, but having 0 on your aircraft. That's a whole nother ball game together. Then, of course, you're going to have no aircraft GPS lost. Next question. How long has the Advanced and Pro Hubsan with the camera gimbal been out? When I check the site, it says coming soon. Which one is it? Do you know? You're going to have to give me a model number. The only aircraft that we have out right now with the gimbal is the 109S. And that particular aircraft has been out longer than I've been with Hubsan. I've been with Hubsan for a little over 2 years, going on to 2.5. So, yeah, it's been out pretty long. Hello from Scotland. Hello, props for making it. I know it's probably really late over there. What are the startup colors on the H51S on 1.1.41 FC plus 2.1.29 RX? So when you turn the aircraft on, you should see all of the lights flash yellow simultaneously. Or no, you should first see the LEDs come on pink. The front two are going to flash alternately until the aircraft senses a pairing with the transmitter. Then all of the LEDs are going to turn a yellowish orange and flash simultaneously until the gyro sensor test is complete. Once it is complete, then it'll go into compass calibration with all the red LEDs flashing clockwise one at a time. Then after you're finished going through compass 1, it'll turn to the LEDs going green and flashing in pairs vertically, like this. And then after you're done with calibrate compass 2, you should go to, if you're not in GPS, or they should go to either rear green or rear pink and front green or front pink. I'm blanking out right now. But there should be a set of pink and a set of green. Of course, that's only one of the LED indications of many there are. If you're having a problem with a light blue, you probably have a capacitor related issue on the PDB. That's one issue I've heard of. Otherwise, you might also have an LED board issue depending on what color you're having come up. That's weird. I would email service@hubsan.com with a short video of how the LEDs are colored and how they are flashing when you power everything up, if you find something unusual. Okay. Next question. How long will an H501S battery last before you have to buy another one? How many charges? This is very dependent on how well you treat the battery. If you're charging the battery up all the way, leaving it hooked up to the wall until you get back home for a couple hours after it's already been charged, and then discharging it down to 6.7 something or lower when you're flying, it's not going to last very long. Most it's going to last is maybe 3 to 4 months if you treat it like that. But if you have a good quality charger, just charge it appropriately if you're going to be storing it for 7 days or more. And know to land the aircraft without draining the battery to its lees, and don't leave it hooked up to the wall for forever after it's already been fully charged. I've had clients use batteries up to a year without any internal resistance problems, a year or more. I personally would say that you might want to discard after, I wouldn't say a time period. I would say measure the internal resistance of the battery. And if you don't know how to do that, please visit our Back to Basics series, again, on our main Facebook web page. Search up at Hubsan001, enter our page. Right underneath the sales tab, you should see a pinned post. Click see more, and then look at the 2 battery tutorials that I've written on how to understand battery voltage levels, and also on how to take care of your batteries. You're going to need a multimeter or voltage meter, by the way. More like a multimeter to measure resistance. Thank you for the answer. Is Hubsan going to launch a 2D or 3D axis gimbal for action cameras? Commercial ones are either too heavy or won't fit. That I'm not sure. I have not heard of, from what I know, I have not heard of that happening. in R&D right now. Even if I did know, I would probably not be allowed to talk about it until they're ready to show something. If the QC Facebook group is the best, how come people are blocked from joining and others are banned for asking a simple question? Is it an official group that you stand by? Okay, first of all, please understand that I have absolutely no say in the QC, or not really. I should say I'm not a moderator and admin on the QC group, but from my perspective, all of the groups provide people with a lot of help. That includes Brian Young's group, that includes the QC support group, that includes the H501S quadcopter group, that includes the Brazil group, that includes every single group that I and the other representatives watch over while Shelly is gone. Personally speaking, if there's any sort of drama amongst people, we don't dip into it, because our purpose is to answer questions and to provide support as Hubsan. I will say, though, that the QC support group has provided a lot of people for testing aircraft and for testing firmware. So I wouldn't underestimate the work that people in the QC support group have done. I also would not underestimate the amount of work that Brian Young and the H501, the H502, H501, H122D group has put in to the Hubsan brand. Plain and simple. There's also Maddie Dredge and the 109S group. Honestly, like, anything that you guys do as pilots for Hubsan, I mean, at least me and the other representatives are not going to say who's better than who, or who's doing what, because honestly, that's personal stuff. So usually I wouldn't answer something like that, but I wanted to make that very clear, because there's so many pilots who put so much time into this and work so hard just to make sure that that they can help Hubsan come out with good products. We're not going to discount any of that. On that note, I wanted to thank everybody involved with testing the aircraft and the firmware, and for giving input and comments on the situation. Seriously. Inputs, comments, and also access to other testers that may not be within the Hubsan community. So great thanks to, honestly, all the groups out there. Thanks, Annie, and everyone affiliated with Hubsan. Your responses have been clear and thorough. Have a great day. No problem. Very glad to have helped. You have a great day as well. ¿Alguna previsión para elaborar un gimbal para el Hubsan? So that comment translated is there anything about a new gimbal coming from Hubsan? I've already answered that in English, so I will go ahead and answer that in Spanish. Lo siento, yo no conozco, yo no sé si el R&D, los ingenieros, está diseñando un gimbal. Si yo sé, probablemente yo no puedo decir nada sobre esto, porque es un secreto. Pero lo siento, yo no sé de un gimbal nuevo. Si quieres más información en el futuro, por favor, manda un mail al correo service@hubsan.com. Servicio a hubsan.com en inglés. Service@hubsan.com. SERB hubsan.com. I have a Hubsan H501S that after unsuccessfully trying to update firmware will only beep and flash red lights and not bind to the transmitter. What can I do? So, looks like you have an SS. Whatever tool you used, whether it be the V3 FC upgrade tool or the V1 upgrade tool, use the other one. Don't use the one that you used if you got an upgrade error. That means that that tool is not suitable for the aircraft. The other tool will work fine, and that should solve the problem. Is the telemetry transmitted using packets on 2.4 frequency? And are there telemetry receivers available that could be used to video merge the data with goggles or other screens? Okay, so telemetry is transmitted and received via the 2.4 frequency. Unfortunately, we don't have anything that would merge that with the 5.8 unless you use an HS001 video display, in which basically that display takes all of it pans all of the information from a transmitter via the 5.8 to its to its screen. But otherwise, we don't have that. If you choose to try and experiment with another manufacturer's module, it is your aircraft, but keep in mind that number one, it might not work. Number two, you will void the warranty on your aircraft. I kind of have to say that second part a lot, so. Hi, Annie. Should I replace an H501S motor with an intermittent whine sound? Thanks. So here's the thing. If your aircraft has a motor that's slightly noisy, the first thing to do is see if it will hold a hover decently without a consistent drift in the squeaky motor's direction. If there is, then I would recommend swapping it. And if you bought the aircraft within the year and you haven't done anything to it, haven't crashed or anything, and you still have the proof of purchase, go ahead and email us at service@hubsan.com so that we can help you get that motor under warranty. Otherwise, if something happened to the aircraft and, you know, maybe you have that squeal or maybe it was out of the box, and the aircraft doesn't drift in that direction, doesn't exhibit any sort of instability, you don't need to replace it. I just checked. It was H109S standard, the pro, and the professional. Which ones are the new ones? All three of them were released at the same time. Again, before I was even recruited here. Yeah, mine's all good. I was having problems a bit back. I was emailing back and forth with you. I got the firmware all sorted. So once again, thank you. No problem. Okay. On the H501A transmitter, why is there a micro SD slot if it does nothing? Technically speaking, it does do something. You use it to upgrade the LCD screen. However, most of the time you don't even need to do that. I've never had to have someone flash an LCD display, with the exception of one time in which the client did it himself, did it improperly, burned out the IC, burned out an IC on the transmitter motherboard, and we had to try re-upgrading the LCD firmware to see if it would work. It would not. So that dude had to replace that part. Luckily, he could solder well. Okay. My Hubsan H109S acts like it is haunted. Why all of a sudden fly directly at me like it wants to take me out and stops and hovers? Any ideas as to why this happens? There are several possibilities, as there's several, things that would match what you're talking about. The first is I have had that happen to me once. It doesn't fly towards me, but it would fly by itself the moment I armed the motors, and that was scary as hell. That was a 2.4 module on the aircraft problem, but keep in mind that we need more details from you in order to be able to narrow things down, because it might also be a compass problem. So email us at service@hubsan.com. If you have a video of the behavior, please send it to us. If you don't have a video of the behavior, you might want to take one. By the way, tether the aircraft to something that won't break from the ground, and also make sure you're in a clear area with no one or nothing else nearby, because you don't want the aircraft running into anything. So I know that sounds a little weird, us wanting a video of it, but there's no better way of us diagnosing what the heck's wrong with it than to watch what the aircraft is doing. If possible, capture what happens on the transmitter screen as well. The telemetry helps a great deal. Also, in your case, if you're going to be making a video on the situation, see if you can capture the transmitter screen. Just the transmitter screen in RSSI mode. If you don't know how to go into RSSI mode, please email us or go to our Back to Basics series on our main Facebook page, which is, again, search up at Hubsan001 on Facebook, and then go to the Back to Basics on how to troubleshoot a 2.4 connection or an FPV connection. The RSSI instructions are included in both tutorials. So if you don't have a video of it yet and you're willing to take one, no pressure. I know it's scary. Make sure, number one, to tether the aircraft to something, and number two, get into RSSI mode. If you're going to be capturing anything, capture the transmitter screen most of all. Thank you to the people who said thank you. I feel the appreciation, and no problem. I got an H216A with the HT009 transmitter. Can I change the transmitter to HT11A? What's the advantage? You could try. I haven't flown an H216A with an HT011A before. I would not be surprised if it worked, because the HT011A, and this is one of the advantages to that transmitter, is that you can choose to connect via Wi-Fi, or you can choose to connect via 2.4. If you can connect via Wi-Fi, then you're set, because the 216A is just meant to be flown Wi-Fi anyway. So I think you should be able to, yes. The only disadvantage to flying with an HT011A is that, number one, you can't get into signal testing mode, meaning that well, then again, you wouldn't even need it anyway. So that's it. So I think the only disadvantage to you using an HT011A is that you can't shut off GPS at will. But then again, you can't really do that with any of the Wi-Fi aircraft with a Wi-Fi connection anyway, so I don't think there's any cons for you. I think the HT011A in your case would be a definite upgrade. There would not be a con. The advantages, I would say, is that you have a really fun set of joysticks. They're pretty, they're going to be more substantial than the ones you have on the HT009. And you have more buttons to work with. Also, there's a bracket. There's the bracket for your mobile device is really nice. It's just a fun transmitter to work with. It serves as a pretty good relay too. Something akin to an HT005, just with joysticks and buttons. Oh my God, I don't have much time left. Being that this is the penultimate one, though, I will go for 5 more minutes. So let me get through as many questions as possible. How do I use the GPS numbers on the screen to find my H01S after landing on low battery in a remote field? Simply take a picture of the screen, or you can write the coordinates down, input into Google Maps, and you are gold. We do that if an aircraft, lands somewhere randomly because we used a bad battery, or you know, things do go wrong in the middle of a flight and things fall out of the air, yada yada yada, due to various reasons. Google Maps. Hi, just bought the X4 Desire. I think it's a very good drone. I love it. Good. Sounds good. Next question. Hi from London. Hello. I have an H501SS. When flying in the direction of light wind, why does the transmitter come up with check gyro sensor and lock me out from turning? Oh, that sounds. Do you have a video of that? You might want to email service@hubsan.com about that. To me, that sounds like that seriously sounds like a gyro sensor problem. And you are very fortunate that the aircraft hasn't done anything else but just stopped responding and then descended. So you email us about that. That does not sound very nice. And in the meanwhile, unless you're tethering the aircraft to something, don't fly it. Okay. Can you tell me what compass strip is used on the latest compass module, the EA400182? I don't have the exact information on that. I don't want to give, I mean, it's not like I really have any information to give on that aspect anyway. So email us. We will have to ask R&D. Do you know when the new compass that doesn't require calibration is going to be available as spares for the H501A to upgrade the existing quad to the appropriate firmware and compass? If I am not mistaken, they're already starting production on that. It's just not posted on the web yet. I'd say Elsa would have more information on the release time of that. Email us just in case so that we can keep track of that question. Honestly speaking, sales can sometimes be unpredictable, to say the least. So we're going to try to get you an answer, but sometimes even the answers they give aren't quite, you know, sometimes they have to delay things for various reasons, sometimes very good reasons. So just email us and we'll see if we can get you an accurate answer on that. I think they should be putting that into production soon. I don't think they're going to be holding back on that, especially with so much of the testing coming up positive. Okay, I'm gonna do, I think 2 more questions and I'm done. Maybe 2, I think 1. Hi, is there any software upgrade of the H502M? You mean the H501M or the H502 something? Because the H502 series, the H501M are completely different. You're gonna have to make that distinction there. So are you talking about an H502 series copter or are you talking about an H501M? You're gonna want to give me that answer before I can. Okay. So an H501M, we are coming. I don't think since we are coming out with a lot of other products and we haven't had much movement with the H501M, I don't think there are any upgrades as of right now. Why? Is there something up with it? If there isn't, then and if there is, you want to be able to see if it's a hardware or a software issue. If it's a software issue, then we're thinking about it. But if it's a hardware issue, then not even new firmware would help. Come on, man, you have 30 seconds left. What, are you having a problem with the aircraft, the H501M? Because if you aren't, you don't need to do anything about it. Sometimes you don't have GPS. Okay, that is not a firmware problem, typically speaking. If sometimes are you saying that the GPS satellites that you have drop down to 0 periodically when you're flying? Because if that's the case, number one, I would try in a different location, preferably one without obstacles in the way, for example, buildings and whatnot. That sometimes can cut out GPS signal. Sometimes interference can screw around with the GPS signal. But if you tried in multiple locations, do you mean that you can't receive GPS satellite signal to begin with, even if you're outside? Or do you mean that when you have GPS signal already, it just drops to 0 and then comes back on, and then drops to 0 and then comes back on? In either case, in the first case of not being able to receive satellites to begin with, either the GPS module is just dysfunctional, or the isolation layer needs to be reinforced. And in the second case, in which you already have GPS signal and it just keeps on dropping to 0, again, I try in a different area. If it's happening consistently still, then the GPS isolation layer just needs to be reinforced. That's all. And if you have an issue with not being able to gather GPS satellites, I would say leave the aircraft on for around 15 to 20 minutes somewhere, so that the GPS module battery can charge itself, and then try again. You should be better. What else? Oh yeah, the GPS will require around 3 to 5 minutes at most to gather satellites. So if you're not receiving satellites at all, I would wait for that to happen. I first leave it on for around 15 to 20 minutes somewhere for the GPS module battery to charge itself, disconnect, and then try again. If you're still not getting any GPS signal, most likely that GPS module will have to be replaced, but that's not a software problem. Anyway, that was a really long-winded answer. Inform us via service@hubsan.com. Email us at service@hubsan.com with the results. Be very detailed with your troubleshooting, what you have already done and what you have not done yet. Most of all, tell us what exactly is happening, or shoot us a video of the problem. That will help speed the diagnosis up a lot. So email us. Anyway, thank you very much for everyone here. As I said, I want to first give a shout out to all of the groups on Facebook. I personally want to thank the entire community of Hubsan fans, because without you, there is no industry, let alone Hubsan. So please keep up the good work. Please, if you guys have any issues with each other, please talk it out with each other. I know that sounds really weird, but honestly, we're here as pilots. We're here as people who are a part of a hobby. So if there are community issues, then that has to be sorted amongst yourselves. If there are problems with the product, then of course you would come to us and we would do our best to answer you. And we would, of course, always want to help. But being that, problems are going to arise anyway, we're all dealing with people here. From person to person, I would like to thank every single one of you who have been here and who have been with any part of the UAV industry. So many thanks for everybody here. Many thanks to the people who have tested for us. Those guys go through a lot. It can get really frustrating. So really many thanks to the people who test for us, including people from the Hubsan QC and support group, including people from the H502, H501, H122 group, including people from the 501s quadcopter group, anybody who has tested for us. Thank you. Anyway, have a nice today and tomorrow. I will see you on Thursday.